Hi, it is the Human Operating System time. This is a channel for educations and technology. Today we like to look into a very important topic, and that is know what to expect from Wing Chun training. So as a Wing Chunner, we invest our time and money in Wing Chun training. So we need to know what to expect. What type of result can we get? So to explore, investigate into this topic, let's start with something real. So let's ask the questions. If Wing Chun, the founder of Wing Chun, exists today or live in 2020, how will she be like in comparison with Zhang Weili? We all know that Zhang Weili is a very, very, very excellent fighter, and she's from China. So we ask the questions, how is Wing Chun, who is a Chinese, live in somewhere around 1800, compare with Zhang Weili if Wing Chun live in 2020? Well, this is realistic, right? Because Zhang Weili is real. We all can see Zhang Weili fight in the UFC, and we can see how is it, what is the reality of fighting. So that's why it is very critical to set a realistic model so that we can compare and we know. Well, somebody might say, well, Wing Chun will be, say, 100 times better than Zhang Weili. Some will say Wing Chun will be as good as Zhang Weili, but disregard of what? Zhang Weili is a real person. She need to train. She fight in a realistic way. And so we know. How is it? If Wing Chun live in 2020, how will she be like in comparison with Zhang Weili? By knowing that, we know what type of result, what type of outcome can we get by practicing Wing Chun. If we using a movie character as a model for Wing Chun, we really don't know what is reality. So that's why Zhang Weili is a good reference. And we can compare what is the reality, so there is no misunderstanding, and we can expect what the result we can get or what type of goal we can set. Now, we all know that Zhang Weili trained in today's world, and if we watch in the YouTube, we know that she trained in a scientific way. Okay, and it is accord with today's sports science and today's medicines. So we need to know that it has to be scientific. With science, there is no ambiguity. Because we are not talking movie. We are not talking legend. We want to know if we train, what type of result can we get. So the best thing is based on science. Because based on science, there is objective, that is proven. Science is proven. Okay, science has a systematic way of compare things and be able to quantify things be able to check for repeatability, quality, so that we know what we get and we know what we get into. Okay, so because of that, to analyze and answer realistic technical questions, in order to be able to analyze and answer the realistic technical question, we need to map the 1850 Wing Chun into science and technology. There's no other way. Only when we map the ancient Wing Chun into science and technology, we can see clearly what it is. Otherwise, we were stuck with hearsays, grandmaster names, lineage names, which really cannot tell what is going on. Because we live in a reality. We're not living in the history, or we're not living in the legends. So with that, because we want to solve the problem, we want to solve the issue that what are we going to expect, and we need to know the basic of the Wing Chun technology so that we can study it and improve it if it's needed. Thus, I wrote these two books. The first is the Wing Chun Inception, where we map the physiological states of the 1850s Wing Chun and the training goal into sports science. That's important because we live in a very advanced scientific era today. And as our model Zhang Weili, or our reference Zhang Weili, she's trained in the sports science way. And also, there's another book I wrote, which is on the reality of fighting. Reality of fighting simply is fighting is an exchange of impulse momentum governed by impulse momentum theorem. Force multiplied by time is mass multiplied by change of velocity. So we need to know the bottom line of Wing Chun 1850s in terms of science and technology. Very specific, very accurate, based on scientific, based on repeatable and objective point of view, not about I believe so, I think so, and all kinds of speculation which do not precisely and accurately get into the topic. If we look at Zhang Weili, her training needs to answer the science and technology questions, because you need to fight in the real world. And this is the basic, the physiological state which is needed, because as a human, one needs the physiological state in order to fight, to compete. And one needs to know that fighting, the reality of fighting is impulse momentum, which can be calculated, can be modeled with physics. So this is the objective reference. Now, with this science and technology base, we today can make up this chart. With this chart, we can clearly know what is going on. So this H model is in this book. This is the H model. Okay? So with this H model, we can know what does the ancient Chinese mean and how is it when it mapped into today's sports science and technology to verify it. So, if we look at the H model, this is the physiological state of the ancient Chinese or the 1850 Xiu Lim Tao practice. Okay, so it consists of 6 physiological states: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, realistically, we know that the first physiological state, which is the natural qi, the quiet mind, the natural deep breathing state, is like this. It is like what we know today as 站桩. The second state, which is the xing qi state, or the 2C state, we know that it is as playing the sets, when we practice the sets, where we can get to the lower abs breathing or xing qi to dantian. And on top of that, progress on top of that, the 7 bowls and forceful handling. That is where one's body can be used effectively and efficiently to handle force which is applied to the body or using the strength. Also, we know that as this state, the third physiological state, that is where in the Wing Chun is like the Qi Sao coming to play. That is where we practice that, where Wing Chuners practice the force handling and how the body handling is at this level. And on top of that, we know that is the beginning of the impulse momentum handling, such as is described in these Wing Chun Matrix books, that fighting is an exchange of impulse momentum. So the fourth state is the beginning of that. And if we look at our Zhang Weili's YouTube, we can see at this stage it is a conditioning, it is a light sparring, and it is having the trainer which is helping her to handle her impulse momentum and conditioning in different impulse momentum handling. Now, on top of that, which is the accelerated impulse momentum handling and the full accelerated impulse momentum handling, thus we can see in the real fight of Zhang Weili. You see how his body accelerated, okay? And that is actually consistent with the ancient Shaolin short strike descriptions. Okay, this is the Shaolin short strike document in 1700s. So there's the descriptions, and from this H model on this side, we know exactly what the ancient means. Okay, because we need to be really clear on what the ancient means. All those 6 physiological states, okay, and all this how it go through from the nurture of the qi, get up to the full accelerated impulse momentum handling. How step by step it goes like that. So with that, one is not going to mistaken this nurture of qi as some kind of magic, be able to use in this full accelerated impulse momentum handling without all this training in between. And one is not going to misunderstand that just by training qi sao, one can go fight in here. Because even the ancient Chinese don't say that. So, if one is just doing one set, there's no magic of it. One develop one's breathing and one's body handling, physical body handling. But still, that is different than you have the trainer train with you to polish up your basics, impulse momentum or basic skill, or the light sparring or sparring. And the light sparring is very different than when everything goes. So somebody might say, well, I just train in the Qi Sao here, and then something here, and then saying that, Wing Chun is good for street. Okay? Not for those MMA or UFC fight. Well, the reality is, if one not be able to generate this full accelerated momentum impulse handling, how is that one going to handle oneself in the street for self-defense purpose? This, like the UFC, it is with rules to protect the competitor. In the street, there is no rules. So if one thinking one doing this, like the body can be able to handle the mechanics, and then doing some Qi Sao and some small practice of sparring, be able to fight in this full accelerated, like in the UFC, well, that's not realistic at all. And if one claim that this can use in the street, that is also not realistic. For the reason, in this fighting, one need the full accelerated impulse momentum handling. Even the ancient Chinese say so in the Shaolin sword strike. Okay? So it is definitely not this thing, or not having this magic qi, okay, the magic qi or magic jing, or some kinds of mind power stuff, okay. It is never those stuff. This is the reality, okay. We need to know that. Now, in terms of the sports science, if we map this ancient 1850s physiological states into the sports science, okay, so we map into the sports science, we can see this. This is the training goals for today's language. This nurture chi state is for deep recovery, because you need to train and you need to recover. Otherwise, the body cannot take it. So at this state, the Xing Qi, in today's words, it will be warm up, cool down, and recovery. So this is the recovery state. Okay? And for this 7-bowl, force flow, and Qi Sao, there's condition 1. For this training with the trainer, where the trainer can fit you target or light sparring, there's the impulse momentum training, there's actually the condition 2. Now, for fighting, well, there will be in the state of accelerated impulse momentum handling, like this guy, or full accelerated impulse momentum handling. So there's fighting level 1, fighting level 2. Okay, so if we look at it in the sports science, that's what happened. Okay, and because we look at the sports science, we know that it is related to the heart rate, the measurable heart rate. Okay, now if we look into the sports science, those two, the sinking chi state and the natural chi state, or this warm up, cool down, recovery, deep recovery, that can be classified as the qigong state. And then the condition 1, condition level 1, condition level 2 is the aerobic state of sports science. And from that, because we know it is aerobic, we know this exists in the heart rate zone of zone 2 and zone 3. Okay, with zone 5 is the maximum. And when we get into this fighting, level 1, level 2, is actually in sports science, we know that it is zone 4 and zone 5 type of activity. And this get into the anaerobic. Okay, so this is the exercise type in terms of sports science anaerobic. So it is this clear. And thus, qigong, this thing, the natural qi, is not the training for anaerobic. It is not. It is a different stuff. It is good for building foundation. However, it is not going to develop the full accelerated impulse momentum handling. So this thing is good, that one can breathe better and have a higher volume of breathing. However, that is the foundation. That is not the training of the full accelerated impulse momentum handling. They are different. And all of this, the qigong, the aerobic and anaerobic training, have its purpose. Everyone is needed in order to be able to fight. So that is the reality. And with the sports science, we also know that in qigong, in all this warm up, cool down, recovery, deep recovery, we can monitor with the heart rate variability and the oxygen in the blood, which is the SpO2. With the aerobic, we can monitor it with the VO2 max, the volume of the oxygens, and we can know our endurance scientifically based on the VO2 max. How good can we endure? Okay, now, and with the anaerobic, we can actually monitor the lactate threshold. There's the threshold, when are we going to get into fatigue? Whether we like it or not, this is a really tough situation of handling the body. So because we need a lot of energy, it is an anaerobic state. And the one who have the higher lactate threshold will perform better. So if we never know about this, scientifically be able to measure this, we actually have no way to understand our body, ourselves. How good can we perform? So based on the ancient, like the 1850s Xiu Lim Tao physiological state, we know what happened in terms of today's sports science language. We know scientifically how is the body is going to develop at every state. And we know how to monitor it. So it is no longer you just sit down there, keep practice, and someday we'll get it. No. You practice it for 1 hour, you will know right away. Okay? What happened, because you'll be able to measure it, monitor it. Okay? So this clear now. Now, we know this is mapped into the ancient is here. This is the ancient. So this is the ancient. This is the sports science. So this is the ancient. This is the sports science. And now, we know all this can be tracked by technology, can be monitored with technology. So start with here, because we talk about the heart rate zone. Well, we can measure with the fitness tracker. We talk about SpO2. This is SpO2. We can measure that. We talk about heart rate variability. We can measure that. Okay, this heart rate as rest, as peak, stand up. Okay, this is the heart rate variability, heart rate variability, heart rate variability, heart rate. Okay, and we talk about this aerobic and anaerobic. We know the training effect. Okay, you see this aerobic, this is anaerobic, and we know the training load. Meaning, at every of our training, we can track that. As for this VO max, same thing. We can track the VO max. For the lactate threshold, we can track the lactate threshold. So, we know inside out what happened with this physiological state. Because if we need the strength to fight, we need to the strength, the body to handle all the states. We now can monitor it with this. This is the technology. Okay? So, that is the reality today. And if we want to track the impulse momentum, we can use this UFC tracker like this one. Track the force, track the speed, track the endurance. Okay? So, with this, we see really clearly what are we doing with this now, as what I just present to you, the H model based in the Wing Chun Inception book, and the impulse momentum based in the Wing Chun Matrix book, and the 2C based in Wing Chun Matrix books. We know all this thing. This is what the ancient mean. We know this is what it means in today's sports science. We can actually monitor and verify it. We can monitor and verify our performance, our body conditioning. With this gadgets, and we can actually monitor our impulse momentum and force handling with the tracker. Okay. So this make it really, really clear now for what we are doing. So it is no longer, oh, somebody say internal. So you have something internal. Well, internal for what? You say, well, qi, jing, mind power. So what is that? How is that is going to related to this stuff? How is it monitored? How is it expressed or explained in sports science? So some will say, you know, if I just training chi sao, I'll be able to fight. Well, how is it related to that? Where we can know what is a real fight look like and feel like if we watch Zhang Weili's fight in the UFC. Okay. So if we say, well, you know, we can know how to fa jing, well, we can also compare with that on how Zhang Weili trained before his fight, how strong he is, and also Zhang Weili also used this thing. Okay, you can check in the YouTube. So with this is really clear now. And only this way we be able to really know what we are doing and not rely on things which is we have no idea what is going on at all. We need this, okay, in order to know what we are doing and what to expect. We really need all of this. And this is keep everybody honest. Keep ourselves honest when we train, because when our coach, our teacher train us, we know it can be objectively, scientifically tracked from our body or physiological conditions, our limitations, our progress, and also what type of power or force or speed or endurance can we generate, because in the full accelerated impulse momentum handling we need that. Okay, I mean, when you go like that, when you go doing this, you need that, and that's what the ancient is expressing. So there's no ambiguity there. No more oh, you know, you just study with me, you just keep practice, you will know. Oh, this is internal. So anybody who said that they have qigong and internal, so they have a qigong and internal, well, measure it. Okay. Anybody who said that they can sing qi to dantian, measure it. Measure it. Because if you can sing qi to dantian, you have a good, there's a qigong area, the SpO2, and then you can breathe more deeply, improve breathing. You're going to improve your VO2 max, and because of your improving your VO2 max, and then in the aerobic training, then you can improve your lactate threshold, which means that your fatigue level, the threshold to get to fatigue, is become higher, meaning that you can have a lot of rooms before you get fatigued, and that can show up from your VO2 max. And because you have this 心气to 丹田 here, your breathing get better. Well, it's going to help you to improve the VO2 max. Okay? So, you want to talk about Qigong? Now you want to talk about Fa Jing? Well, we'll check it with this. See really it is true or not about the Fa Jing, the force and the speed. And with this, to prepare for the handling of the real life, then one can check it and monitor and verify it with the entire thing. So this is to share with you today. Okay, it is 2020. We clearly can know this, and because we know this, because we have this clarity today. We know where we are. We know which position, where in the map our training is. We know how to improve with these gadgets. So today's training will be actually much effective and much efficient than the ancient. And also we know that the ancient means this, and not just we speculate, we believe, we think as we like, or have a missing pieces thinking that 站桩 can fight the guy who trained here. You look at the history of China, like around the time of 1930, you can see that the reality is that if you just do 站桩 and all those Fa Jing stuff, you are not going to be able to fight the real fighting like this. Okay, even by 1930 in the Chinese martial art competition, you read about it, you can see. Okay, so this is how clear it is now, and this is what I like to share with you today, and this is realistic. So we can ask our questions. How is our training compared with Zhang Weili? This is realistic. Okay? So this is what I like to share with you today.